from Creation Miss Couture. Today is my very first roving experiment. I am incredibly excited to share with you the final result. Obviously, there will be pink and purples because, oh, look at me. This is she, Catherine. So I'm very excited for this very first episode of In the Dye Pen for roving. Um, I started to spin a little bit more consistently in the past month and 2 months. Anyways, I don't know. Time is weird. So I got the spinning bug, which means that you get to benefit from this because you get to see me dye roving and have some fun experimenting with how to dye this very different, and we shall see how it goes. I'm super excited. Let's get into this.
So one thing with roving is that we don't want to disturb too much the fiber when we're working with it because we don't want the fiber to felt. So that means that instead of doing my usual soaking it in a different bucket, I will be soaking it in the pan that I will be dyeing the roving in. Simply because we don't want to chance me moving the wet fiber too much and felting it. So I've added 9 cups of tap water. Well, actually, it was warm water, so that way was ensuring to dissolve all the acid in the pan already. And I've added another 2 cups of tap water this time, so it's not too warm when I will be adding the fiber. So I'm using Gloss Roving from a Nitpick. I will have an affiliated link in the description box below. So it's 70% merino and 30% Tusa milk silk. So I will be unraveling it and adding it into the pan. Sorry. So the main reason I'm adding 2 braids into the pan is simply because I want to work with the natural resist we will have, because once the braids are wet, there will be natural resistance created by the braid itself. And if I'm adding a second one, I want to see how much that will affect the color coverage we're going to obtain that way with the braids. And yes, so like I said, the main reason we're like not pre-soaking it is to ensure we're not felting the spinning fibers, because if it's felted, we can't spin yarn with it. And I had a little hard time to do it, but I was finally able to add both braids into the pan, and we're going to let it sink and get soaked. So that way we'll be able to add our add our dyes into the pans. So now you can see I've waited it took like almost an hour for the fiber to be wet enough for me to be able to add the colors. So now that it has been soaked enough, what I'm going to be doing is when I'm going to be adding my colors, it will have the heat on a very slow, like a very low heat setting, so that way the fiber will warm up slowly but surely, because I don't want to felt my fibers. And 2 things that will felt your fibers is touching it while it's wet, but also having like a temporary shock. And since I've never dyed roving before, what I did is I did a 1% stock solution. Since I have 2 braids of 100 grams each, I did 200 milliliters, 2 grams for 200 milliliters of dye. So this is deep magenta, I believe, from Dharma. I will have the link in the description box below, as usual. And the reason I wanted to do 1% stock solution is simply because I've never dyed roving prior to this. And I just wanted to have like a point of reference. And that's one of the reasons why we do 1% stock solution when we first dye something, is usually to have a point of reference, so that way you can adjust the depth of shade where you're going to be working with. So if you want something paler, you know what approximately where you can start working for that, and if you want something darker, you know where you can work at as well. And you can see that I got sick of using my spoon, and I'm just like, let's get to this. So I'm trying to apply as little pressure as possible, just to ensure I will not be felting this. And you can see that the dye is honestly spreading quite a bit. So let's squeeze all the dye into the roving and just nudge. Apparently I just gave up on the idea of those lines. It's life. You can see that I do the voiceover after the fact. Most of the time I don't do voice during the dye process, because I usually have my ventilator on, and you wouldn't be able to hear me properly because of the sound. Now I'm adding some sort of blue, apparently. And I'm doing it in a way that there will be a little bit on each braids of color. And like we know, blue and pink creates purple, so it's going to be very lovely because it's me, so it needs to be pink and purple, apparently. And you can see that the magenta is absorbing slower, and it's normal. Deep magenta has a tendency to take a little bit. It doesn't strike always that fast, and you will have some you can have some splitting sometimes of the dye in it. And you can see that I turned on the heat right now, so I have it at a very low temperature, like I said earlier, to make sure that we're not going to felt the yarn by moving it or creating a temperature shock. So I've let it cook for maybe 15 to 20 minutes to see how far the water, the dye is going. And you can see that since I'm on a low heat, it takes a little longer for the dye to absorb, which is fine because we're experimenting, we're learning how to dye the roving. And I don't know if you've noticed, but there's quite a lot of white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very delicately flip the fiber over, so that way I can add dyes on the other side of the roving. And I'm doing it the more delicately possible, just to avoid too much movement, so we avoid felting. Maybe it's going to be a mistake, but who knows? We can't know until we've tried, and we're learning as we go. So I'm learning so you can learn and you don't make the same mistake I do. Because I have a tendency to do mistakes when I'm trying something new. So I will be adding colors on that side. So I believe this is Peach Blush. Yeah, it's Peach Blush from Dharma as well. I really like that color. Orange and pink actually do really nice together. This is Hyacinth from Dharma, and I think it was not a mistake because I think it's going to be very pretty. I had leftover pigment at the bottom of that, so that's what I just did. I added more not hot water, but more water into it, so that way I could spread the color a little bit more. You can see that the Hyacinth is taking over the Peach Blush. And this is when your color theory is important to understand and learn and know, because blues have a tendency to overpower anything that has yellow in it. And since Peach Blush is in kind of an orangey color, pink orange, there will be some yellow in it, and you can see that we almost have no more Peach Blush left. So I will probably turn on the heat a tiny bit more, just so that we have some action going on and some striking happening. and we will let it cook for at least half an hour, 45 minutes, to make sure that all the color is absorbed by the fiber. And we will come back later to see what's going on with this fun with our friend. All right, so it's been half an hour. I had some eventful stuff happening. You can see that the pink hasn't fully absorbed, which is normal. And the hyacinth hasn't fully absorbed either. So we can turn the heat on a little bit, but not too much. And we will let it sit for another half an hour, just so we are clear. So see you in half an hour. So it's been half an hour and we will be checking how the absorption has been. Okay, so we still have a lot of pink in it, but I don't want to cook it too much simply because it's not a good idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be turning off the heat here, and we will be letting the color vat as much as we can. So we're just going to use the leftover heat from the pan, like continue cooking it, and I will see you at a cleanup section of this video. Alrighty, so it's the first time that I'm going to be cleaning up like roving. I am a little scared because this is where things could go wrong. So let's get this cleaned. And I'm already anticipating bleeding simply because I can see pink into the dye pan. And if there's pink into the dye pan, it means that the pink is not fully absorbed usually, and we will see how it goes. But I 100% can confirm that there will be bleeding from this. And I'm just going to be speeding up this section because I have... it took a little while to get this cleaned and have a clear bath. One of the things I'm doing right now is that I am soaking it a little bit to make sure that we can have more excess dye as possible into the bath. So because I don't want to move too much the water, right? Because if we move it too much, we risk felting it. So this is also one of the reasons I'm speeding up this section of the video, because you don't need to see this soak for forever. So I can already see quite a bit of pink into the bath water. So I will remove that excess and I will be adding more water. And as usual, I use an unscented soap wash for this, simply because I don't want people to have an allergic reaction to my stuff. And I don't put the water directly onto the fiber simply because, like I said, I don't want to create too much movement that could risk felting my fiber. And since it's for speeding, we do not want to felt it. And I can see some pink still. I will be doing this process a few more times, and when I'm happy with how little pink there will be, I will put it in my spin dryer. So that's another section that I'm a little worried about because I don't want the thing to felt. And I'm happy to say that it didn't felt into my spin dryer. And it's looking super nice. I really like it. I will show you next how to braid your fiber, and you can see how beautiful and bright the colors are, which I'm very happy because sometimes with natural fibers you don't have very bright colors and it's a little dull, but I'm very happy with the result. So basically what you're going to do is a simple chain stitch. So if you crochet, it's the same thing that you're going to be doing but with your fiber. And then after that you can have your braid. So I still need to improve my braiding of this, but you know, hey, it's all a learning curve. I'm very happy with the colors, and I'm super excited to see how it's going to spin. It's so pretty. I love it. And it fluffed up so much. And the one thing I'm super excited about is that I felt that this roving was actually not as soft as I was hoping for when I first was touching it. But after all this process of dyeing and washing it, it honestly it felt so much softer than when I was first touching it when it was out of the bag. It's quite impressive, actually. I'm very happy with it. So for our first time, I'm super happy and I'm very excited to show you the final color without a braid. And I'm honestly super excited to experiment more with dyeing fibers. And you can see how bright and lovely and lively it is. I'm very excited. So I can see that there's few white spots and I'm okay with it because it's going to be applying very nicely with other colors and it's going to be very nice. And I'm super happy also that we can still see some of that peach blush that we had and that the hyacinth didn't like overthrow everything. But that's all I have for you for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you've loved the video, please consider liking, sharing, and if you want to follow along the journey, please consider subscribing. It's the best way to support this channel. And I will see you in the next one very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.